So this video is totally different from all my other videos. Usually I'm presenting on a nice, neat little social media topic. And of course, you're going to be getting a whole lot more of those videos. But today I'm flipping the script and I'm answering your burning questions about me just so you can kind of get to know me a little bit better. And you're also going to get to know my husband, Stephen. So
hello.
So I put it out there on YouTube and also to my email subscribers. If you had a question about me, what would it be? I was actually surprised that people actually sent me questions and actually more than I expected. I was like super tempted to organize all of your questions in a super logical order, but that would lead to things being very fakey and I just didn't want to do that. So instead, I put the questions in a hat for Stephen to pull randomly, and you have not seen any of these questions.
No, that's pretty scary, actually.
Yeah. And we're going to go all over the place, and who knows what's going to come out of my mouth. He's putting on his glasses, getting serious. Oh, I should mention that some of these were printed in very small type.
This one's from Michelle Chenoweth. How did you meet Stephen?
Well, this actually works out as a perfect first question since I just introduced Stephen to everyone. Stephen and I met at a networking event called Death by Chocolate. I was working for an ad specialty company at the time, and we decided to do a client appreciation event. And Stephen was the client of my boss, actually. We instantly liked each other. I was not available at the time, however. I just started kind of dating someone, but a couple months later, when I was single again, we started dating. And Michelle had a couple questions, so what else does she have?
Why did you decide to start your own business?
I'd been an employee for a very, very long time, for different companies, and I realized I just did better when I was marching to my own drum beat. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to start my own company, not realizing how much hard work it would be.
This is from Roland Trueblood. What are your academic credentials, or how did you work up without them?
I went to Penn State. I graduated 30 years ago. My major, believe it or not, was French technical writing and translation. I thought I was just going to go into translation. I love foreign languages. But what's interesting is that when you are studying translation, you really also need to study how to write because you're typically translating into your native language, in my case, into English. I took a ton of, writing courses and all that. It turns out that I ended up going more into a writing career.
She was also first in her class, so she's very humble too.
Well, it's on my LinkedIn profile, not humbly displayed. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Ready?
you.
So the next one's from Michelle McCann, Career Pro Resumes and LinkedIn Profiles. What made you decide to get into YouTube videos?
The pandemic. I started a YouTube channel back in 2014, which is when I started Delaware ShoutOut, but I really didn't do anything with it. Even though I knew the video was really good, I was too camera shy, especially in 2020 and everything, like networking opportunities just went kaput.
Not camera shy.
I am camera shy.
No.
Now I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, so networking opportunities dried up and I was like, you know what, I need to step up my marketing game in some way. I just said, you know what, I'm just going to try YouTube. I really wish I would have started sooner. It's a huge amount of work, don't get me wrong, but I've learned so much from this. It's been amazing.
The next one is from Ed Hawkins from Hawkins & Sons Appliances. You took on a great, very strong company name, Delaware ShoutOut. My question is, why hold back?
When I started my company in 2014, I was thinking small. I thought, you know what, if I could just get 5 clients, I'm sure I can find 5 people in Delaware. It's good to have your place name, when you can, and your company name, and ShoutOut is kind of cool. And actually, Stephen came up with the name Delaware ShoutOut. Is that not correct?
Well, we were brainstorming a lot of ideas.
Yes, but
that's what we landed on. So.
Yes, but the Delaware ShoutOut was on your list.
It was.
Like true nerds we were actually, I think, emailing each other in the same house. But long story short, there was so much business just in my state. That's on my website. It's on every place I'm listed. It's everywhere. It's on my business cards. So when I decided to, in 2020, start getting more into YouTube, I'm like, I'm not changing the name of the channel. I'm keeping it Delaware ShoutOut. And what's actually really interesting is I think according to my statistics, only 0.2% of my viewing audience is in Delaware. And actually only 25% of my audience is in the United States. For 75% of my audience, Delaware is more just a word. I'm just keeping the name Delaware ShoutOut.
All right, ready for the next one? Oops.
Oh my God, did you just rip that?
It's weak paper. It's not me. The next one is Dave Wilderman Physical Therapy. How did you determine that you wanted to focus primarily on LinkedIn advertising?
As stupid as social media can be, I would say LinkedIn is the least stupid of them all. And actually, it just has a very favorable algorithm. So in other words, if you put a post out there, it's way more likely to be seen by way more people.
You did my LinkedIn page pretty early
Yeah,
on.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Well, his LinkedIn profile was the easiest because you've had like pretty much one job the entire, which is awesome. Like he's like the most stable person I've ever met. We balance each other out. That was a really good question, Dave. Actually, all the questions have been really good so far, and I really appreciate them all. So,
all right, non-ripped.
Yay.
This is from Randy Peterson of Peterson Creative Enterprises. How did you learn so much about social media? It's not something you would have learned in school, right? You had to pick it up on your own while doing it, right?
Yes, I picked it up on my own. Social media was part of my job for 2 of my jobs before starting this company. What I've also found is that as great as it is to have social media certificate programs and you can pretty much go to school for it, what I've heard from a person who actually directs social media instruction at a college is that she has to change her curriculum every year, like by 50%.
It's a moving target.
It's just it's a moving target.
All right, this is from Denise Villanhea from Acaso and Aglea. When and why did you adopt a plant-based diet?
So yes, I am vegan. So I've been vegan for a little more than 10 years. I actually started it because I just happened to run into a couple women slightly younger than me, but not too much younger than me, who seemed really vibrant and healthy, and they were both vegan and both happened to just tell me how much they loved it. Is veganism for everyone? No. I don't try to push it, but it's been awesome.
Does try to push it?
I don't try to, maybe on you guys.
Well, I mean, we kind of have to become at least half vegan because you're vegan.
I did a TEDx talk about veganism, and it was specifically about the dairy industry and the whole milk thing. I don't know if you'll be interested or not, but I'll have the link in there in case you're interested in seeing that. So,
all right, this next one is from Nancy Reagan, speaker, trainer, and author. When and how did you decide to start a YouTube channel? What was the inspiration, defining moment?
I will tell you, I did get some questions that kind of overlapped, but I wanted to keep all the questions so I can give a shout out to every single person who sent a question. Thank you, Nancy, for sharing the question. I'm trying to think if there's any inspiration or defining moment. It was more like, I need to step up my game. And video is going to be it.
This is from Will Weber. Will Weber Homes. Tell us about your time selling office machines.
So Will knows both of us really, really well. So Will didn't really have questions. So I started out career-wise, you could say, pretty much in writing, and then I kind of fell into sales. At the time, it seemed like, selling copiers was the thing to do. I was horrible at it. People would ask, how does this work? And I'm thinking, you press the green button. That's how it works. It was a very financially devastating sales job for me.
Good question, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Okay, this one's from Janice Harlow, Paper Tigress, Personal Finance Care. What was your education and intended career?
I mentioned I was a French major, so I really thought I was just going to go into translations, and my first job out of college was translating and then also editing translations. Translations end up being a very lonely kind of field. I still ended up doing writing afterwards, but it just ended up being other kinds of writing. My LinkedIn profile says it all. Feel free to connect.
The next question is from Sandra Farina from Delaware State Independent Living Council. What made you start doing video tutorials?
Actually, I really enjoy just telling people how to accomplish certain tasks.
We homeschool our youngest son, Jacob, and she does most of the teaching, and she's a really good teacher. So
you teach the math. I think you're really good, and I think you're more patient than I am. But
wow. This next one's from Michelle Nath from Burke's Lunchbox. How many kids do you have, and how old are they?
So we have 6 children. Oh gosh, I'm gonna mess this up completely. Okay, 26, 24, 22. 21,
right,
18,
right,
and 15.
Pretty good.
Did I miss anyone?
Nope.
Okay. I have to think about that every single time.
4 boys, 2 girls.
Yes.
Right, this next one is from Philip Leach from Irish, Delaware. Were you and are you still a curious person?
I would say the areas in which I'm curious are extremely narrow. Besides, obviously, my job, I'm very, very passionate about languages, and I will read anything I can about linguistics and learn new languages. And I will tell you also that with homeschooling, I've really enjoyed relearning science and relearning a lot of history. I'm going through a lot of the classics right now because I have to reread the books that I used to read, and that has been super, super fun.
Philip's second
He's a
question.
smarter nerd than I am. Yes.
In your youth, were you happier outside in nature or inside reading, play acting, etc.?
I would say most of my time, especially when I was much younger, was indoors. I liked reading, but then also we had like this little playroom. For a little while, I had a school in there, and I created lesson plans and taught to imaginary children. I knew they were imaginary, so it's okay. Like, it's not like I thought they were there. I had an architecture firm, and I would draw up floor plans, but I wasn't that good. I couldn't do 2 floors. Everything had to be 1 floor. I started like a soap opera script. The soap opera was called As the Wind Blows, which turns out it was a horrible name. But I didn't know that at the time. So I would just do all these little things indoors. So like I think I used my imagination a lot.
This one's from Janet Falk, a public relations professional. What are the 2 things that you do every day to keep your LinkedIn presence fresh and active?
There's one thing I do, but I'll break it into 2 parts. How about that? That way I can answer the question as 2 things. And both have to do with engagement. The first thing I do is go into notifications and see if there are work anniversaries or birthdays or someone started a new job. If I know them well enough, I can, without freaking them out, just kind of congratulate them for that. And then the other thing I do is I go into my news feed and I see, what is like one really interesting post that one of my connections put out there that is really good that I think my audience would like. And then I go ahead and repost that. So it obviously gives more exposure to that person, but then also it kind of mixes up the content.
All right.
And by the way, you guys might notice if you've seen some of my videos, some of the people here also volunteered to be roasted in some of my past videos. So if you see some names that sound familiar, and Janet's one of them, so thank you guys for continuing to participate.
Okay, this question is from Tom Lapp from Triad Personal Paperwork Services. What is it like to be Carol Brady of the Brady Bunch in real life?
I don't think I have ever been as amazing as Carol Brady. I feel like you contribute way more than I do. He cleans way more than I do, but I cook more.
So I'm like Carol Brady.
Yeah.
And you're like Mike.
You know what? I had the architecture firm. There you go. Roles reversed.
Okay, this one's from Bryce Atkins. He does dad jokes and other humor on his YouTube channel. What's your background in your school or in your career?
I mentioned about the writing and the sales. So just imagine it went from like writing to sales and then eventually to marketing, which included social media. But I will tell you the thing that has helped me most with the social media, I would say, is the writing, because I think you have to be a clear and detail-oriented communicator to do well.
I don't write anything important at work without having her look at it first. So yeah. I really highly value your editing and writing skills. So thank you.
So since everything's been random in this video, I'm also going to have YouTube just suggest whatever they suggest as the next video they think you should watch of mine. Normally I point here. This is where the video typically goes, where Steven's face is, but that would be rude. So I'll point the video right here. So watch this video right here at the bottom, and I look forward to seeing you there, and thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.